tonight I wanted to share a little finishing journey that I'm on with this settee. And some of you may recognize this. This was the course that David Lamb taught this summer, a couple different occasions. He's been a great friend, inspiration to me, and we've gone back and forth and helped each other out a lot. We decided we would collaborate on this project as our silent auction offering for the Furniture Masters exhibit and auction this year. So every summer or late fall, we have an exhibit, usually with the New Hampshire Furniture Masters, and this is the 30th anniversary. Every time we make and donate a silent auction piece, usually it's in the like $300 to $500 range, you know, something small, a small table or some box or, you know, something nice. And they are out in the on tables during the reception, you know, so you get your hors d'oeuvres and your little wine and your whatnot while you are submitting silent bids on these sheets of paper in front of all these objects. But David said, hey, what if we take one of these settees from the class? He was feeling pretty generous, I think, at the moment. He wanted to offer one of them as our silent auction piece. So he and I'm going to do the finishing, and he finished up gluing it up. So it's going to be in the silent auction this year, and the reception this year is the 30th anniversary. So it's at the Currier Museum of Art in Manchester, New Hampshire. So it's a pretty big shindig on October 9th. If you're interested, go to FurnitureMasters.org. A new book has come out. It's just fresh off the presses. You'll see photos of that book on the website as well, that 30th anniversary issue. So I'm excited to share that with you too, because everybody's got a little write-up in there too. Well, let's get to it. I want to show you some of the process of thinking that I go through when finishing cherry. It's one of the more frustrating woods to finish. It can be extremely rewarding because of the beautiful, warm, deep color and patina it develops over a relatively short time. I would say about a year, it gets to the deeper fullness of the color it will have, and then mellows a bit, even deeper over time. But it's one of those woods, as you probably have picked up, it's one of those woods that darken with age. Woods like walnut lighten somewhat, but cherry has a great character where it darkens and deepens in color. So it also has some other issues which are going to come up in this little description. So I'm deciding what to put on this. Before I do, I like to have some little test samples. So one of the big things about cherry too is that it can vary in color. Now, I tried to get this material for the course out of all the same boards. All the legs for each student and David came from the same plank. So I know these are all the same color. I kept that at least. But the rails and side rails are not necessarily from the same plank. But I can see a nice pinkish color there. They look very close. There's nothing really glaringly sapwood. And that's the big problem with cherry, is when you have the variation in color. Some of it gets quite white or as near the outer layers of the tree where we call it sapwood. And it's just dead white when it gets right out to the very edge. I have a piece here that you can see. Here's a block of cherry, and this is the white sapwood. So you can see that's the outer edge of the tree. And while the heartwood will deepen and get that rich red color, the sap does not. It just stays that white. So over time, it gets more accentuated as the heart goes darker. The white just seems more whiter. So that's a problem sometimes when you're dealing with cherry. But fortunately, I avoided all sapwood for all the student chairs. But some pieces of cherry can just by nature be a lighter version of cherry all throughout. As you get into the colder climates, they say that in certain regions, it just grows lighter. The stuff in Pennsylvania was always rich, great color, and that was highly sought after. And this just has great color too. This came from Kentucky, so it's a good quality cherry, great texture and color. And I like even the pitch pockets in there and everything like that too. So that's the question we first have to address. Should we put any color? Should we tint the cherry at all? And I'm not sure. My first thought was, yes, I should, because one advantage with tinting the cherry, even if you're not doing a lot, is you gain a little harmonious tone to the entire piece. If you do have some variation in lighter and darker versions of cherry in the one project, it helps to kind of homogenize the color tone so nothing sticks out as lighter. So we've talked about this a little bit before, and we've left a link about some issues with cherry.
Yes.
But I'm going to bring out another issue in a minute, but I first just want to talk about the staining cherry. And let's just do a quick little sample here and see if we want to stain. So what I've got is some aniline dye stain. This is great, easy stuff to work with. This is water-based aniline dye, and it's from Wood Finishing Enterprises. We put a link in there. And the one I'm using, a lot of you know this, and I know he gets calls after we do these kind of things, but he's not a sponsor, but he's become a friend, believe it or not. The owner, Dale P, I forget the last.
Prescott?
No, it's not Prescott, it's Prespin or something. Anyway, he was here yesterday. He's from Wisconsin, and I met him finally yesterday. He was driving up to Nova Scotia for a wedding or something. So he's on the road, so he may not be able to deliver to you right away. He's just probably got to Nova Scotia now. But this is the early American medium amber wood stain, okay? I choose this when I'm trying to approximate cherry. It just has the color tone, and I'll show you in a minute. That's really great for cherry. And it's item number 85-0143, and this is -3. This is the 3, that's the 4-ounce size. All right, so when you mix it up, I usually mix it by the teaspoon or half teaspoon. And for a stronger version, I'll put a half teaspoon in 8 ounces, or for a little weaker, I'll do it half teaspoon in 16. Of course, you can change that if you want, put a full teaspoon in 16 if you need more and darker, whatever. So that's the ratio I'm working with, and I'll apply 2 coats on when I'm putting the water on. That way you get more even application in case you miss a spot on the first time. All right, so it also gets a little richer too. So I already mixed up some here. This is it. And if you go to those other videos, I think I actually show mixing it up, the other ones we linked to here regarding cherry. And I'm just going to use a paper towel for this. So let's go with just a regular piece of cherry. This has just been hand planed, so not even sand, but there's no grains going to raise because of the hand planing. Now that looks pretty nice, right? Let me just do partial so we can see what's actually happening, right? Well, I can see I'm dripping on the table.
That's what it's there for, right?
What?
The table?
Yes, it is. You're right. That's why we're not working on the bench. All right, so I'll just do that much. But you can see how deep and rich that looks. And just to show you how close it is to the real color of cherry, look at this. Over here, I've got the round chair. This is finished with oil varnish natural. So this is just natural cherry. And you can see it's approximating it pretty nicely. This is aged, so this is deeper and darker. This is not yet, so it is going to be lighter to begin with. But you can see it has that similar color tone, but it's just lighter. So
Wow,
no,
so similar.
yeah, no oil on it. But that's why I like this color. Now, if you mix it up a little stronger, the stronger version I mentioned, you know, like a half teaspoon per 8 ounces, or this might be even a little bit more, you can actually treat the sapwood and knock it out. Watch, if I just go down the sapwood here, this may not be quite strong enough, but this is one way to mute the bright white effects of sapwood. You just come right in, right over it like that. Okay, now it looks like it's not going to be good, right? Because, but we haven't hit the rest of it yet. So we would let that soak in, and it's very forgiving. Don't worry about it. You're just going to wipe it right over the sapwood. Nice. Okay. Now, you may be starting to see one of the other issues with dye stains on cherry. Up here, you've seen kind of that blotchiness. Cherry has some really nice figure, and it's quite often it's reflective, but some of it can be blotchy. Some of the cherry, just the nature of the grain, can not work well and look quite blotchy. Now look, let's just put, I could let that dry, but let's put a little on the rest of it. I'm just gonna try to, I got that pretty dark, didn't I? I can actually, this is the nice thing about water stains, is you can dilute it. See, it's just water. So by rubbing on it a little bit with the less concentrated, I can bring that, what I colored on the sapwood, a little bit up. Now look at that, that's getting pretty close to gone, but just the nature of the sapwood has a little different pigment to begin with. But that wouldn't stand out anything like it did. And you can do more as you go on, you know, with the finishing as well. Let me try this side. So you can see how you can kill that sapwood pretty nice if you use a little stain. Now that gets back to the question, do we want to use stain on our settee? This is going to be in a museum. We don't want to screw this up, right? There's more pressure on this than usual. And also David worked on it, so there's that, right? I don't want to screw it up for him. We're in this together. But here's the thing. One of the risks with staining is what I just mentioned. The saturation of this water dye stain, it does penetrate quite a lot, and it can make it look blotchy. Now there is a way to get around that, and that is by using a seal coat of shellac. So wax-free shellac, and I use it at about 1.5 pounds cut. If you want, you can go to there's another video there on finishing walnut. It's got 1.5 pounds cut mixture there. Now, I wanted to stay on track. The wash coat method. Here, I'm showing you, this is a board that I did when we talked about blotchy cherry. This is in the video about blotchy cherry. If you want to see this whole video, it's worth going to see that. I put the stain on the wood first, then I put the seal coat, and then put the varnish over the top. So the seal coat is down here, but from this line up, it's just an oil varnish straight on the wood. You're going to pick up more blotch when it's not pre-sized or sealed with a wash coat of shellac. Go to that video if you want to know how to use shellac in that way. The downside, though, of using shellac as a wash coat is I think you lose a little of the depth and richness and the patina over time that putting an oil varnish right straight on the cherry gives you. And a lot of times blotch is overstated. There's lots of great cherry, and it has to be like prone to blotch. Like this piece I knew was, so I used it for the demo. But a lot of it isn't. It's just kind of the wild figure in the cherry. And once you get all the coats on and it starts to deepen, it just looks rich, like great character. And by sealing first with shellac, you restrain that fullness of rich depth over time. So where possible, for the rich, full color, I try to go with the oil straight on if possible. But let's do a little more testing and see what happens. So that's the aniline dye straight on the wood. Now, I would put another coat on after this dries, and it wouldn't change much, but it would get just a touch richer, and it would bring that harmonious look to the entire piece. But may not need that here. Let's go a little further. So now I want to show you, here's a couple pieces that I did earlier. Let's turn it this way so you can see them. I did these earlier, and these are from the same board. So these were together like this, and I sawed them. Oh, I'm sorry. These were from the same main board, yeah. And I carved a little detail in there so I could see what the carving, because this carving on the, if you look on the bench, the settee bench, this is a prominent feature. And those who took the class know this very well. There's 16 of these little facets on each leg. You know, there's 8 below and above the seat rail. So this is a prominent feature, and I just want to be sure that whatever the stain or oil or whatever we choose to do reacts well with this, because you're getting end grain in on the sides of these little cathedral details. So I went ahead and I just mocked up and actually carved, not to the full depth, but something similar to what's on the chair and also on the settee. And then I stained it twice with the half strength, the half teaspoon in 16 ounces of water, aniline dye, the one I just mentioned. So that's all set. And that was just hand planed, so there's no sanding. It's grain's not raised much. All right, so now I wanted to see what shellac will be like on this, and I wanted to see what shellac would be like if I had no stain on it. These are the same, okay? So these are from the same boards. With shellac, I will do one all shellac and one all oil varnish, and just see how different it is, okay? So let's get the shellac out. Get my little hook.
There's no
A nice neighbor sent me.
fading, Tom, of the blotchiness with age, right?
Fading in the sense that as it gets darker, the contrast gets lessened, right? So, but it's still going to be there. You know what I mean? And it's more board specific. It's not universal with cherry. It's just if you get some cherry that's more prone. This has some, but it's kind of reflective, like character to the wood too. So let's go ahead and we're going to just brush on some shellac here. This is just the first coat, so we're not going to actually see the fullness, but we'll get an idea, right? Okay. That looks pretty good, huh? So you can see that looks nice. You can see the end grain and the little cut, how it's darker and it almost looks slightly outlined. And I love how David left like the scalloped tool marks from the carving chisels in the recess area, which I tried to imitate there. And then let's go shellac straight on plain cherry. Now here's the thing, this is not affecting much color, is it? It looks pretty blonde. This is just light or blonde shellac. It's the regular clear shellac. It's It's not seal coat, it's just the clear. So now this is fresh. This will darken over time somewhat, you know, but it won't go as much as it will if it was just oil. So there we have that. Now I'm gonna switch over to the oil varnish, the Tung Oil Varnish. This is some great Tung Oil Varnish. I get it now from Sutherland Wells. I used to use Waterlocks a lot. In fact, that round chair is Waterlocks. But this is a really fine polymerized tung oil. And it's really good quality. We have a link to them too. Don't we have a code or something?
We do, and I put it in there.
You don't have to use it your first time. That's what I remember speaking to them about. They're fine if you want to wait and put in a bigger order if you wanted to get a good discount. But anyway, this is the same treatment for the cherry, but now I'm going to use the Tung Oil Varnish. And this is a wiping varnish. So this one you put on, let it soak in, and then, you know, you can wipe it on, you can brush it on. But by wiping varnish, I'm now thinking of that way more in the terms of you wipe off most of it after you let it saturate a while. So you're not leaving a big coating on this. So in the similar way that we saw during the Maloof visit, like the Maloof finishes, they applied 6 finishes to those rocking chairs. They're applying the varnish. It's very similar to this. They wipe it all off, and then they do this for 6 coats. So it feels like the last coat, you don't have a lot of rubbing out to do. You don't have to hit it with all steel wool to mat it down. It just looks gorgeous. You know, you buff it off a little bit. You might hit a little if you got little spots. But okay, so now we're gonna go with the oil straight on the cherry and get a look at that. Now this isn't really fair because it's not aged at all yet, but it is giving us some idea. I'm going to grab another piece over here. This is a piece that I put a little darker stain on earlier, and I wiped with the varnish, the wiping varnish, and this side too. And this here is the second coat. There's no stain on that. So you can see how this is a little bit deeper color piece. So this will go down to a very nice warm color like the chair over here. Let me bring this over. This is the 1 teaspoon per 16 ounces. Okay, so that's a more concentrated. I'm sorry, no, half teaspoon per 12 ounces. So it was like right in between. Let's put it down here, and you can look down here. Look at that. Isn't that crazy, like how that stain, how close it is? That's why I love using that to match cherry. However, if I can avoid it, I'd rather not, and let the cherry be the cherry, right? Let it age richly, nicely over time. So, and that happens pretty fast. So jump forward a little bit. You know, between classes, sometimes I have a pile of cherry and I'll have all these parts sitting there. And if I leave parts like stacked on top of each other and one part is like off to the edge of one, in just a short 2 weeks, a week or two, the sunlight coming in, even not direct on the cherry, will darken that cherry, because I'll move the pieces and I'll go, oh no, you can see a white spot outline of the piece on top of it. It starts to oxidize that quickly with exposure just to light, not direct sunlight either. So I usually, and I can look over right now, I keep it under a blanket or a sheet to keep the light off it so that I don't have like weird lines on the work. So all that's to say is that in only 2 weeks between classes, I had that happen with the settee class. And so I was careful to stack it in such a way it wasn't a big deal. But this settee, this is at least 4 weeks old or 6. I'm not sure if it was from the first or second class. And this settee has been exposed to the light for a long while. So it's already deepening in color. And I can tell by the color tone. So that's going to have a warmer, deeper color. It won't be quite here, but it'll be between these two. Can you see that? Mm-hmm. It's going to be between these two when I hit it. So do I have to stain it? I don't want this, and I know it's not going to be that because I can see it's already got the oxidation on there. But I don't, if I stained it directly, I'm going to get some of this blotch, and I don't want, it will highlight the blotch. The stain brings out the blotch more than the oil, okay? Because I stained it. You see how I just oiled this one? You don't really see the blotchiness. It's quite light, right? But notice how this was not stained. So that dark stain saturates into those little wavy grains, and it just accentuates any propensity for that piece to blotch. That's the big word of the night, propensity. So anyway, that was what's going on there. So if I can get away with just putting the oil straight on the wood, I will, and get a nice treatment there. Now there's one other thing.
Can we ask some questions?
Sure, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Will the stained sapwood age the same as the rest of the board? Stained sapwood age the same as the rest of the board?
No, it's going to be what it is because it's not using the natural color in the wood. So by toning it like that, you want to get it rich enough. The main thing you're doing here is you're softening the contrast. If you don't want sap to mess with it at all, don't put it on your project, especially on the top of a table, because it'll be a nightmare. It will start to show more over time, but this will mute it. And if you've got another piece, like say a leg of a table and it's on the inside, it would hide it. No one would ever notice it, because you're toning it, you're blending it. Look, it's taking longer for that to dry, but it will melt right in pretty nicely.
Okay. Would BIX pre-stain work okay? I've used it. Tim says I've used it to prevent blotches on alder with great success.
Awesome. Bix or bin. Bix, bin, I forget. Maybe it is Bix. But I'm pretty sure if that's the product I'm thinking of, that has, that's actually made, the main ingredient is shellac. So it's sealing the wood. Check on the can next time. You're basically using the same thing I just showed. It's a thin, like wash coat of shellac. It's putting down a sealing coat. And that's great to hear because that's what happens. You get a nice sealant. But like I said, you're also restricting a little bit of the fullness of the color. So there is a little trade-off there. If I can get the oil straight on the wood without stain, like especially a water-based stain, that's to me the optimal for look. I mean, that's what this chair is. Look, I didn't stain this, and I can see some figure in there. It's reflecting, but it doesn't jump out because it was straight on the wood. This seat rail has a little ropiness to it, but that would be jumping out if I had to stain it. But so this is just natural oxidation of cherry, and that's been made for a while, so that's probably about as far as it's going. One other thing I want to show is a highlight that you can do, and I'm almost certain I'm not going to do this because of the lightness of the cherry at this point, and it's a risk, but putting glazing stain on over the shellac. So here's another piece I did earlier. I've got shellac here and I've got the oil varnish here. I've only got one coat, so it's not showing fully. But I have a good coat of the shellac there. Let me just touch that with a 320 before we do this. Just on the surface. So that's a good wash coat of shellac. Now I'm going to put on a glazing stain just for kicks. And I want you to see what happens. This works really well on darker colored woods like walnut, mahogany, oaks sometimes if you've got a darker color. You put the glazing stain on, right, and you get it in the carving, actually. Get it on everything. But because it's sealed already with the shellac, it'll wipe off mostly, but it will leave a definite tone. This is burnt umber, so it's got a red, brown tone to it. And it's really beautiful color. And this is the one I use the most, you probably know by now. But you let it kind of dry a little bit. Then you're going to wipe it off judiciously. So this is the cool thing about like carvings on darker woods. Like when you wipe it off, you can leave it behind in areas and it creates the illusion of dirt. And like, you see that? Mm-hmm. It actually creates more kind of definition and contrast that gives the appearance of depth, greater depth and contrast. So it's really nice on carved areas on darker woods. But look, if we tried to put that here, I think that would just be too harsh, too dark. That line's going to be too much. And I'm a little afraid to do that on this. I'd rather, now this isn't colored fully, but I'd rather either go with the light cherry stain or just the oil straight on it. I'm leaning, because of the way this cherry is already oxidized, to go with the oil straight on it. I can do some tricky things after that. If it's not enough, I can use wax-free shellac, tint it slightly, and give a little toner to it. And in that case, it would be like a trans tint or something, and then go back to the varnish. Okay, so you can do things like that, where if you want to get a little toner color on there, you just have to have the medium to carry it and affect that color change or adjustment while you're going. But like I said, the ultimate, I feel, is to go pretty natural with the cherry and let it go. Get the oil varnish on it directly if possible, okay? If not, if you got blotchy, you're gonna seal with the shellac. And then if you want the color tones, you can put the tones. Now this method works pretty well to use. If you use the stain, the aniline dye stain, seal with shellac, and then go over with the glazing stain, and then top coat, it gives you a pretty nice harmonious color. I mean, look at that. That's a pretty nice color, right? But it gets a little touch of muddiness to it, right? Because the glazing stain is a pigmented stain. It's a very fine powder that is the pigment. It's very fine, like ash. It's hardly feel it, but it does lay on top of the surface, whereas the aniline dye is a direct dye, and it's just transparently coloring the wood, okay? That's why it soaks in. Any other questions?
Yes, you know when we do finishing, there's always lots of questions.
Yes, there are.
Okay, so I'm going to hop around a little bit, see if I can do some continuity here.
Okay.
Rick is asking, is the water-based dye as susceptible to streaking as alcohol-based dye?
No, because you mean when in application, I believe you're saying. No, because it's because it evaporates slower. It's really friendly to put on. Like I often put it in a bucket with a rag, squeeze the rag moderately, and then just start working it on. Like if I was going to do this, I'd start at the legs and work my way up so any drips went down in. Just keep moving and going back, and you'd have this whole thing covered in no time. And no streaks. And that's the other reason I'd go back, hit it a second time, because hitting it that second time evens things out. Yeah.
Would you consider dichromium chromate?
Potassium dichromate? Is that what you said?
I think that's what he means.
Oh yeah, potassium dichromate. That's a little risky on cherry because it can vary in effect so strongly board to board, where in mahogany, the genuine that I used to do a lot, there wasn't as much. It would react fairly evenly across the spectrum of mahogany planks. Not exactly, but enough that it didn't stand out. The cherry, on the other hand, like I was saying, I don't know why, but some boards, like I've tried it on a dining tops before, thinking, oh, this will work great. I had a really nice match, what looked like, but when I wiped it on, some boards react very strongly with the dichromate and went significantly darker, and it really was frustrating. So you can do it, but I would only do it if I knew that all those boards were from the same tree, the same like log run material. So, and do a test first like this.
Okay.
Be reassured.
Can you put stain on after the seal coat?
Yes, this is an interesting question. That's a great one. Thanks for asking that. That's what the glazing stain is, right? That's meant to go on after the seal coat. But I think what you're asking is a different kind of stain. I've done some work with a really expert wood finisher named Mark Adams, not the School of Work Mark Adams, but guy who lives in New Hampshire. He's amazing. But he helped me on this piece once. I was doing a walnut table and we were trying to make it look antique, like really old. And we had it close. And then he said, let's put some aniline dye on it. And I'm like, wait, what? We already had shellac on it and other stuff. It wasn't just a wash coat. And we literally wiped on over that and it cast a tone over it. So yes, you can. I know I've done it with, if you're gonna do it though, you wanna use a solvent-based aniline dye that's different from the coating that's on the surface of the piece, right? So you would use a water-based on over shellac. You could use it if you did it fast, and over oil as well. So, but you wouldn't use an alcohol-based soluble aniline dye over shellac because you're going to melt into it. So that can work, but I haven't done it in so long. You know, I was actually like thinking about that earlier because if I get the oil on here and I do go direct, then one of these rails, like say this end rail is lighter, I was thinking, how am I going to adjust that? Well, I think I will try just taping it off, and I'll just try some aniline dye, probably this same dye stain, and I'll tape off the legs and I'll just wipe a little on there. It's so thin, it's just going to cast a tone, right? It's just a color tone, and see what happens after it dries, because you're leaving like a little thin coat. Okay.
Wiping off. Are you going to use a linen-free cotton cloth, or what are you going to do when you're wiping off?
Yeah, I've gone to using those blue shop towels, you know, the disposable blue shop towels. Got turned on to those from Sutherland & Wells. They talk a lot about it as an applicant. I mean, I have used these paper towels a lot, but they do leave a little lint every now and then that's annoying. You know, I'm always like lightly sanding, but those blue, I don't know if I got any hand right here. I don't, but you know what I'm talking about. They're everywhere, the rolls of the blue shop towels.
Yeah. Did you say that there were some preparations made to this chair to prevent blotchiness, or did you just go straight?
I went straight on the cherry. Okay. And that's why if I had stained it, I would have been more nervous. If I had put an aniline dye on there, it would have really highlighted everywhere the ingrainish bricklaying that was done on the back of that chair would be popping out more. And it's really, that's always an unhappy feeling when when you lose control of a finish and it's on there already. It doesn't, but there's always some way to get around it. It's just, it's really cherry that is this puzzle, right? You're hearing all the factors that you got to consider. Sometimes it's just more of an art than a science. I would love to just give you a B, C, D, But like you're saying here, there's a lot of varieties of cherry and situations and products and approaches and desired outcomes. So
Yeah.
feel your way along.
Can you tell us what's going to happen to the seat on that?
Oh, sure, yeah. It's getting upholstered, actually. And this is the frame. It's just a little half-inch frame. All the students got one of these. And so David just cut the middle out. So we left a 2.5-inch border. For those of you who took the class, I think we did talk about that. But what happens is, can you see this? When I was over at Dave's picking it up, he's like, he set it in there, and it fits in there nice, but I'm gonna confirm with the upholsterer that the margin is right. But when he pushed on the ends here, because it was thin, it sprang down. And we didn't have any support across there. So if you took the class, you're probably seeing these cleats. This is new. I just put these in. So they're 6¼ inches long, and they're centered in the space. I made them 5/8 thick this way and 7/8 this way, and ran a little chamfer with a block plane before I glued them on. Super easy. And in order to line them up perfectly, all I did was take a straight edge like this, and I set it into the rabbet on both sides. So it's a little shorter than the distance, and I clamped it here. And then I was able to just put some glue on it and bring this glue block up and just rub fit it and just push it right up snug with this alignment rail that was clamped sitting on those. So then I clamped that, with just some quick grips. And then when you could pull this off, and it's dead aligned with that level. So you do that on both ends. Then you get this added strength. This seat frame goes in here, and it's just really solid. It's supported all around, and it's got that little bit of support on the ends as well. So this is gonna get upholstered. I'm talking with someone locally, he's helping us out with that.
So Lupe's asking, she said, I have a small problem. A few years ago, I made a small table out of cherry. At the time, the cherry was on the light side. I Danish oiled it. As it aged, one of the boards of the tabletop had more sap than the others, and now I have a lighter board on the top. And the entire piece looks beautiful, except for that board. What would be your suggestion of fixing this top that is already oiled? Is it repairable, or do I have to make a new top?
Wow, that's a good question, Lupe. Well, you saw what I did here, where I was able to kind of lay in color in the sap area. I would try that. Like, I'm thinking about what medium. So glazing stain would be tough because that is also oil-based. This is, anyway. But you might find a glazing stain that's just right. But actually, I think, let me think about this. You could use alcohol-based. See if Dale has alcohol-based this medium amber. This is gonna get you close. You might have to tone it a little. Maybe get some brown trans hints to push it one way or the other when you see the color. But the cool thing is, if you just dissolve some concentrated alcohol-based aniline dyes in alcohol, then you could try putting it on a little brush and just laying it on with a brush, but it'll be so faint, and it's alcohol, and it's gonna go right on the oil. So you wanna clean it all off first, and you're gonna be toning just that area. It's gonna take some magic. It's gonna take some skill, some time working up to it, where you tone in that board to agree with the others. It's an art. You're trying to get that color tone on that board deeper so it doesn't jump out. Can it be done? That's the way I would think of doing it. And then because the alcohol dye is fine, it'll be compatible. And then you can top coat that. It's translucent. It's just getting the right color and concentration. And you don't have to get the right color all at once. You could put on a little, well, let's see, now I'm thinking about it again. You can't really seal between coats unless you used unless you used wax-free shellac, which could go on. And wax-free shellac could go on, and then you could put color over that and then add the oil again. So the wax-free shellac is compatible, and that's another way of sealing in your alcohol there. But I think I would just try to get it with the alcohol and based aniline dye. And if I come up with anything else, I'll let you know.
Okay, well, there's a few more, but I think we need to call it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, guys. It just keeps... It's
Sorry.
such a mysterious world.
You know me, I'd love to talk about it, and I would love to talk about it. Well, let's come on back next week, and we'll pick it up, maybe not right here. I'll have something else for you. But I hope to be able to reveal the finished settee, and I'll give you more information about the event and the book. I hope to get a book pretty soon that I can share with you, so we'll talk more about that. Hey, if you enjoy this content, remember, please subscribe if you haven't already, and share. And also head over to epicwoodworking.com for all kinds of information on the classes. We don't have this one, but we do have that round chair, and more being added all the time in a live recorded format. So we'd love to have you join us there. Also move into the neighborhood, and that's where all the most fun happens. So
Yes.
thank you so much for hanging out with us for a little while. We really enjoyed sharing our experiences and our shop home right here. On behalf of the camera lady and myself, we look forward to seeing you next time, right back here on Shop Night Live. That was really holding back, right?
Kind. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Appreciate you all too. Thank you so much. Take care.